Welcome back to another episode of Casa De Confidence. And thank you so much, my friends, for tuning in and for being here. Today, I am going to talk about something that I see tinges of this in myself and see a lot of it throughout women entrepreneurs. And our guest today helps women entrepreneurs really focus and grow steady with their revenue because she's helping with ADHD entrepreneurs. And this is something that we need to unpack. We need to understand how to organize ourselves. What are some of the things that kind of trip us and also help us as we're growing a business? And it's important to be able to talk about what it is and how can, again, we go through life, even if we haven't necessarily had a diagnosis, but there are ways in which can get a diagnosis and get the testing that will help us along the ways. So Skye Waterson, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, excited to be able to have this conversation. Now, do you have ADHD?
I do.
Okay. What was the trajectory for you to, number one, when were you diagnosed and how did you, maybe if not at an early age, how did you then decide, okay, I need to get tested? What is the story?
Yeah, so my story is interesting. I got diagnosed at the beginning of my PhD. I had an academic career trajectory, but I was burning out between my master's and my PhD, between my postgraduate and my master's. And so I knew that there was something wrong. I just couldn't figure out what it was. And I thought maybe it was like writing issues, dyslexia or something. I went to my inclusive learning center and they tested me, did a bunch of different tests on me, and they said, we think you should get tested for ADHD. And that was how I found out that I had adult ADHD despite having taught developmental psychology.
Wow. So what was that like when you decided to get tested? Did you have any apprehension?
No, because I really got tested. I mean, I think I was nervous, honestly, that I didn't have it because at this point I knew I had something. I knew there was an issue. And so for me, it was really about going, okay, well, if there is an issue that I have, how am I going to solve this problem, basically,
Yeah,
And
that
so
makes sense.
knowing what it was a bit overwhelming. I had to rethink my entire life up until that point, as you always do when you have these things. But at least I had an answer and I could start researching, which is what I love to do.
Yeah. Well, I think that, sometimes, we really know that there's something that sort of the puzzle is not in the right place, but we don't even know where to go. Now, people who are not working on a PhD and don't have an academic support center where they can go, where can people, especially as an adult, right, be able to get a diagnosis or a roadmap to where they need to go?
Yeah. Honestly, it is tricky. It's one of the reasons why I don't require anybody to be diagnosed to work with me. One of the reasons, obviously, I don't do anything with medication. The other reason is because you can be on a wait list for a very long time if you're trying to get diagnosed through the public system.
Yeah.
Most people end up paying for a psychiatrist out of pocket, and that can be expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. What is usually the result if people don't get tested by a psychologist or are just waiting for a diagnosis?
Well, I mean, the biggest result is just that they don't know what they have. So it may be that you have ADHD. It may be that you have some other mental issue or some other struggle that you have. I wouldn't even begin to say what they are because I am not a psychiatrist. And so it does leave you a little bit in flux. Sometimes people like to get the diagnosis just for that solid information. Some people like to get it for medication support as well. And obviously different people are on different journeys with that. And some people don't want to get it at all because they find the ADHD strategies really helpful. They resonate with ADHD, but they don't want to have to get a diagnosis officially.
Yeah. So how did you get started with this work? I'm curious, was this something that maybe you're offering things that you didn't see people were offering?
Yeah, well, I mean, my at the same time as I was doing a PhD, my partner, now husband, was running a business,
Okay.
selling frozen food, and so I was helping him with the business, which really got me fascinated with running a business, and it was so
Mhm.
interesting. And then at the same time, I was studying, I was doing my PhD, but I was also researching ADHD like mad because I was trying to
Yeah.
figure out what it was going on. So I was going through academic journals, academic research, and because of that, I started, connecting with other people in the university. I started working in schools, helping them with what I'd
Hmm.
learned. I was a teacher for years before I ever started ADHD coaching, so it was just a natural fit for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. It
And then
is.
when COVID hit, it was this interesting position I was in because we all had to go home. Our
Hmm.
business got shut down. We
Yeah.
weren't allowed to operate,
Mm.
and also Zoom started to become a thing. So
Yeah.
I went online looking for something to do around the space of ADHD because that was my passion. I've been working in schools, and I found ADHD coaching, which was very new at the time,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I started doing it and loved it. And we were also looking for a new business at that point,
Mhm.
and so this became it.
That's amazing. I think that, for so many of us, we go down a path, and when a door is closed, we typically don't see, what is next, but things can fall into place if you're willing to, be open to the
Yeah.
idea that
Mm-hmm.
this is possible. And I think that the
Mm-hmm.
work that you're doing, again, you knew what the need was because you were in that situation as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I do
Mm-hmm.
love this,
Yeah.
and I think that it's the kind of story I wish more people can see that it's possible for them. Now,
Mm-hmm.
your coaching program, tell me a little bit about the type of work that you do, and
Yeah.
how does someone that work with you can benefit, and what are the problems that you're normally seeing?
Yeah. So I help ADHD or entrepreneurs who have ADHD or executives who have ADHD or suspect they have ADHD. I help them with focus bounce growth. So
Hmm.
I help them get focused. Usually, when people come to me, they're in some kind of state of overwhelm. They
Hmm.
may have a successful business, but they want to grow it and everything's starting to feel like it's on fire all the time. They're in that kind of messy middle stage.
Hmm.
And so I help them figure out how to focus. I help them figure out how to actually do those things that are going to move the needle in their business.
Hmm.
And then I help them with sort of what I call like second tier organizational strategy, which is bringing in a team. How do you bring in a team? How do you manage a team? How do you build SOPs? How do you do all of these things that in the same way as, you might have been told, oh, just get a planner. And you're like, that advice doesn't work for me. That's not how my brain works.
Mm.
It's the same with the organizational side of running a business.
Right.
Just have a meeting, just write notes. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, that's not going to work. Just outline
Yeah.
an SOP and send it to someone and update it. That's not going to work either. So we build systems for that. And then the last one is, growing consistent revenue. We want it to be consistent. And
Hmm.
sometimes the reason it's not consistent is because it's going well and then something new and shiny comes along and we build out pipelines that kind of break our own systems. So
Hmm.
I build systems in place to help you with dopamine, to help you with time blindness, things that can really be a problem at that point so that you
Hmm.
can sit back, have more time, have more focus. And I see people's businesses grow and it's really amazing.
Mm. Tell me, what is time blindness? Because I think that I haven't heard that term, but I'm sure it's something
Yeah.
that is very common that people know about,
Yeah.
but I need to know.
It's interesting. I didn't know about it either until I got diagnosed with ADHD. But basically, what it is when you look at the research, what people find is that you don't really people with ADHD do not sense time in the same way. So there's some indication that maybe we're like counting faster. Like there's interesting things. There's a lot of
Hmm.
research in here, but essentially what it means is we don't necessarily sense time passing. So if we looked at a clock and then we looked up and we looked down again, it could be 2 minutes, it could be an hour, depending on what we're doing. And we also don't necessarily have a good estimate of time projections. So if you say, how long is this going to take? Well, if it's something we want, it's like, it's going to be done in tomorrow. If it's something we don't want, it'll take ages. We don't really have a good sense of it. We're sort of making it up. And so that can be really difficult when you're managing a team and you have metrics and you have data points and you have goals for the year,
Right.
and you have a whole bunch of people relying on you to be that person who's going to drive this forward, and you're going, oh my gosh, I don't even know how long this project is going to take.
Yeah, I think I've been there. One of the things that in my corporate career, I had to really be able to create, and this is why I eventually became a tiny habits coach, because I needed to have guardrails and really being able to create easy to implement processes for myself and not necessarily as most people tend to do, oh, go big and right when we fail because whatever behaviors we have, then we feel very overwhelmed and then we beat ourselves up and then it's harder to get back into it and then you go down that spiral. But I know that really being able to just create those guardrails for me was game changing, and I could see that if that was for me in a corporate environment, for an entrepreneur, having those types of support, but also processes or things that they can just rely on and learn will make a big difference in a business, especially when you have a team waiting for you, especially when you don't know, oh, wait a minute, where did my day go? And I never got done anything that I wanted to do.
That happens. A lot of people come to me because they come in and to their office and they say, hey, I put out fires all day and I don't even have time to hire people to help me put out fires. Like I'm so busy. And so that's one of the first things I help people with, actually. In fact, if you want to know how to do this, I do give it away for free. You can just DM me on Instagram at Unconventional Organization. If you send me the word confidence,
Oh, I love that.
I'll send it just because that's where
Perfect
it's coming
word.
from. And so, if, when we're talking about this, we want to go, okay, well, let's first of all do a brain dump of what's in our head, because with ADHD, we have great problem solving, great creative thinking. None of it's going to get done if our head is full of stuff. Yeah. So writing down all the tasks that are in our head, very, very important. Don't look at your email. Don't look at your abandoned task list. Just focus on that. And then from there, we want to go in and we want to say, okay, well, what is truly urgent today? Because if I didn't do it, there would be a significant negative external consequence, or like a sink for tomorrow, significant external negative consequence. And that could be a bill that you have to pay or an invoice you have to pay. It could be a preparation for an event that is happening tomorrow. Those are all really good examples. It's something where if, heaven forbid, you were in a waiting room, there's an emergency, you would be like trying to hand it off or explain. You'd have to do something on your phone to at least tell people why you weren't turning up and what was going on. Yeah. That's the significant, urgent tasks. Everything else is not urgent. So that means everything else you can choose to do or you can choose not to do. And at that point, what we talk about is we go, okay, well, what is truly important for your business? And we build out our 80/20. I mean, I just talked to somebody just before this, jumped on a call, and oh my gosh, day is so stuffed, doing so many things, so many meetings. Ask them what their revenue was. It was not in line with the amount of meetings that they were having. And so the conversation becomes, okay, well, what is the thing that's driving your revenue? It's this one thing. That's your 80/20. We need to grow this and flourish this. This is the thing. And for a lot of people, they've been avoiding something from there. So then again, ADHD strategies, right? This is not your neurotypical's business advice. So we're talking about how to do it in a way that your brain will actually want to do it. And that's the next thing that we focus on.
Well, I love that you're saying that. And, and I think that if I didn't have specific tasks, right? And this is one of the things that I love teaching my clients is what is your 80/20. And many people don't understand that you're going to accomplish your 80% based on what your 20% that you're focusing on. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't focus on the right stuff as a business owner.
Yeah.
And, this is, people laugh at me. I keep my little planner open and it's got my list. These are the
Yeah.
things that move your business. The top five
Mm-hmm.
things that move your business.
Mm-hmm.
These are the top things that need to get accomplished this week. And
Yeah.
then I categorize. I grade not grade myself, but I give a value, a money value to each of the activities.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I come
Mm-hmm.
in, sit at my desk, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, let me just go look at that. Then, oh, that's a $10 task.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
not moving
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it can happen
100%.
to
You
all
want
of
to
us.
focus on those. Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to focus on those $500, $100 tasks. But I will say, I've worked with people who have $2 million tasks and people who have $200 tasks. And the reason that you're doing it is often the same. It's too boring.
Yeah.
It's too
Yeah.
confusing. It's too emotionally salient. Somebody rejected you last time you tried this. And so these are the pieces that we need to understand for ADHD, because what happens is people go, okay, well, let me get some business strategy support. Awesome. Love that. Love that so much. So important. But if you don't have the ability to implement it because it wasn't built in a way
Yeah.
for your brain, then you're just going to have spent thousands of dollars and continue to have the business you have right now. And I've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
this so many times.
Yep. And I think that is exactly one of the reasons. And I think that if you're listening and you're thinking, well, I already have a business coach. Well, a business coach sometimes
Awesome. I have
cannot.
too.
Yeah, I do too. But a business coach sometimes cannot dig into some of the things that are really being the stumbling blocks for you. Now,
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere, and we have a client who works with neurodivergent individuals. How is neurodivergent individuals and ADHD related, not related? What are your thoughts, or what is the research on that?
Right. So so neurodivergence is an umbrella term. So it's an umbrella term for people who have different brains, right? So it includes people who have ADHD. It can also include
Okay.
people who have autism spectrum. I think there's a few other pieces in there as well. So it's just an umbrella term. So sometimes people can call themselves neurodiverse, maybe because they have a combined diagnosis. Sometimes people have a combined diagnosis. And sometimes people call themselves ADHD.
Okay. All right. So now, for you being someone that can definitely identify with what someone may be going through, what is one of the things that you personally struggle with? Because obviously, when we struggle with something, it does affect our confidence. What is something, and how do you work on it so that you can also lead
Yeah.
by example?
That's a great question. Every one of these things. Like the way that I build things is I initially struggled with it. So step into focus filter, I was writing a PhD. Not an easy thing to do with focus.
Right. Yeah.
And so, this was where I sort of look at the research and go, okay, well, this is a struggle I'm having. I have ADHD. I'm also not medicated. And one of the reasons is because I want to be as ADHD as possible to have all the problems.
Right. It's your superpower too.
Yeah. So I will go and read the research, and sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes the research prompts me to look at the thing, but somewhere in there will be an idea of, oh, interesting. We have dopamine deprivation theory, which means that we don't seem to get the same dopamine boost at the beginning of a task as a neurotypical.
Yep.
And that means that we might need to boost it, things like that. And then from there, what I do is I build out, the program is built now. So this is what I used to do more so, is I was working one-on-one with clients. So when they had a similar problem, we would talk through some of the reasons why, make sure it was a good fit for them, and they would go out and they would test these systems as well. And what that allowed me to do is it allowed me to have a system where the focus filter now, the step into focus routine, the 2-minute focus formula, they have been tested with hundreds of people across multiple years in totally different scenarios. And that provides what's going on. So it comes from me. It's stuff that I definitely identify with, or at least when I research it, it sort of sparks something because I am an ADHD business owner.
Right.
but then it becomes something that has been tested across hundreds of other people as well.
Mhm. I think that, you and I are very similar. I typically tell people that I'm my best client because I beta
It's
test
more
everything.
fun, right?
It's
You're
it's
like,
more
yeah.
fun,
And
absolutely.
also, I will say, like for real, there are one of the things that I do is I have amazing, amazing business coaches. I've been
Mhm.
so lucky in my life, and the best coaches have coaches, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
sometimes I get given advice and I take it and I try it and it doesn't work at all.
Mm,
It doesn't work. And it's like the best piece of
yeah,
someone's information.
right.
And and then I have to look at the research. Why I get curious, why is this not working? Oh,
Hmm.
that's so interesting. There seems to be a component of dopamine that, yes, I
Hmm.
could do this, but it requires a lot of dopamine. It just doesn't make sense for me. It's not a high enough value task to be
Hmm.
applying this much dopamine to it. And then I will make adjustments to better fit ADHD systems. So a lot of what I do now tends to be that stuff as well.
Gotcha. I was just reading not too long ago the book on dopamine and it really
Mm-hmm.
I it clicked so much for me because sometimes we forget, right, how the chemicals inside our body and how our body is reacting to certain things can then have an effect on our behavior. And
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that my level of energy in the morning was so poor. And I kept thinking, oh, what's
Mm-hmm.
wrong with me? Is it winter? Is it just that, we're shutting down? And I realized that one of the things that I had started to do again is because I do my Wordle. I don't know if you're familiar with Wordle. I do my Wordle in the
Mm-hmm.
morning.
Yes, yes.
I do my Wordle in the morning. What it was happening is that I was going directly to social media afterwards. So it was
Mm,
just
yeah. Mm-hmm.
draining my energy before I even got out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Mm-hmm.
before, typically I would get up, tell my dogs it's going to be a great day, and then make my bed. And then that energy of like, oh, I accomplished this thing kind of
Yeah.
started to
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
give me that dopamine and to keep
Mm-hmm.
going. What are some warning signs that we really need help and we need support? And because sometimes
Hmm.
we don't see that as quickly as we should.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple of pieces. It's usually a feeling like you're losing control.
Mhm.
So sometimes if you're running a team, it can start to feel like you're vacillating between micromanaging and just forgetting that person is even on your team, what they
Yeah.
do. You
Mhm.
can kind of be in this situation where you feel blind, basically. You feel like you're sort of flying blind towards something and it's going faster and faster and you don't really have a good sense of what's happening.
Yeah.
That's a really good indication. And then for people who are kind of maybe they haven't quite gotten to that point of bringing people on board,
Hmm.
it's you go into the office, you stare at everything, you feel a sense of rising panic, and you check your email, and that's kind of what you do that day.
Yeah.
That tends to be the sign that you need to get help.
Yeah. Email is really one of these things that robs us of so much time. One of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest things that I think is one of the things that I feel the most proud of is I don't have any notifications that ding,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't check my email first thing in the morning. And I know that people think I'm
Mm-hmm.
crazy, but it is so easy to get just drawn into email. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah, it
certainly
can
one of
be.
these things. I tell my clients that email is somebody else's priorities over yours. And most
Mm-hmm.
of the time is the thing that will sidetrack us.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned your spouse and you collaborate. What is that like? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, it's been a transitionary thing. So when we first met, he was running a business. I
Mhm.
was an academic. Then I kind of came on and helped with the business as well. And then we started this business, which is kind of
Mhm.
me as the forefront of the business. So
Yeah.
now I run the business and he supports what I'm doing.
Okay. I love that. Now, what is the most rewarding thing about out of working with your spouse?
I think the most rewarding thing, I will say, people often ask how you work with your spouse. We don't work on the same things. We have very different
Mhm.
skill sets. And so there isn't a sense of, it's not a case of like, I have feelings about the thing you're doing. I'm always usually like, oh, thank goodness you're doing it. I don't want to think
Yeah.
about it, and vice versa. He's
Yep.
not going to come on a podcast anytime soon. And And so the most rewarding thing is really is just that they understand what you're experiencing a little
Mhm.
bit. Like it's nice to have it when they I think especially because we this is a second business together. It's like they do have a sense of sometimes it is go time and sometimes I genuinely do need to take a break. So they have a sense of when to push back and when to
Right.
say like, no, you got to get it done.
I love that. I am curious, and I'm hoping that this is going to be something that really touches a listener. I know that there's someone
hmm
there that may be going through something similar, and I'm curious if
hmm
you are open to talk about this. I typically ask a question in my intake form, and I don't normally get really great answers, but I really got a great answer from you. And I typically ask, what is your greatest failure? And you talked about, you shared what your greatest failure is. Would you share that with us?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my greatest failure, it's the PhD, right? I'm just making
Mhm.
sure I wrote it down.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
you. That's what
Yeah,
you
yeah,
wrote.
yeah. Yeah, my greatest failure, it's a complicated failure because I went into academia. I mean, initially I wanted to be a clinical psychologist and then I went in to be an academic. And so the idea of finishing a PhD is kind of like the thing,
The
especially because
thing,
I
right?
got a scholarship to do this PhD.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was a good ride. But I didn't finish it. And it wasn't because of a lack of focus. Exactly. It was because this business that I was running became so big and grew so fast
Mhm.
and just took off, honestly, beyond
Yeah,
what I'd
I could
honestly
see that.
imagined. And to the point where I was going, okay, well, I'd gotten to the part, for those of you who know the PhD system, I'd finished like the first year initials and
Hmm.
gotten the sign off and all that kind of stuff. And I'd actually collected data. And the data I'd collected, first of all, was on parental experiences of economic satisfaction in New Zealand. At the time I started collecting it, there was not a lot of recognition of how difficult it was to raise kids in New Zealand. By the time I got to the end of it, there was a lot of recognition of this. So I felt like
Hmm.
the story was already being told, which was really why I'd started
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And but the other thing was that it was at that point where you have to do the writing. Like you have to sit down
Yeah.
and write the
Right.
draft and edit the draft. That is
Hmm.
100% a focused task. You cannot
Yeah.
split that. And the business was getting to the point where I was going to have to start scaling. I couldn't just keep it small, which was also
Mm.
a super focused tasks.
Yeah.
So I had to choose. And I actually spoke to my supervisors about it, and they recommended that I go with the business because, they were
Mm.
like, when are you ever going to have this chance again? Which, funnily enough, now as a business owner, I'm like, well, you can start another business. But at the time, it was like,
Right.
this is just this magical thing. Like, I'm not sure how. And there's a little bit of that to it always.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so I left and I'm really glad I did. It was the right
Hmm.
decision. And I've been so grateful and I love what I do and I bring academia into what I do always as well.
Love that.
And yeah, that's been my story.
I so appreciate you sharing that because I think that, sometimes we have this picture of what our life is going to look like. And life happens and life keeps lifing.
hmm
And sometimes we walk away and think, oh, I cannot go this path. This is the path that I was supposed to be on. And
Yeah.
we beat ourselves up, yet
Yeah.
there's so much potential for us taking that winding road and doing the thing.
Yeah.
I often talk about how life is, I have done the Camino de Santiago, so of course I have to talk about that
hmm
because it's been impactful in my life. But when we're walking on the Camino, right? And life is not about the destination, it's about just the walk. And there's times in which you decide, hey, today I'm going to walk 20 miles or 20 kilometers and get to this destination. And one of the things that I found is that, yes, you can have the plan and it's needed, but at the same time, you may enter a village where they're having a really fun festival and you can choose to stay at that festival or you
hmm
can choose, you know what, I'm going to go in this direction, even though this is originally, I know I have a friend who actually got hives the first day she was on the trail, and she kept just, I think it was the stress in her body. And she beat herself up for such a long time that she had gotten off the trail. But what she ended up going and spending some time with friends in Spain, and got to meet so many wonderful people and really got to absorb the culture. So I think that it's okay to not necessarily beat
Yeah.
yourself up, because there's always something that comes full circle.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, it's like the trajectory that looks the most acceptable is not always the best long term. I think if at the time, like think about it like this.
Yeah.
If someone said to me, I'm going to leave, I mean, my supervisors were very supportive and I appreciated that. But, it's like, I'm going to leave a PhD that I've started, done the
Yeah.
research for, I'm ready to write it. I've done well in my master's. I know I can write, pieces of work like this.
Yeah.
For a business that is doing well and could do better, but is still new and is also a business. Like it's inherently a little bit like, okay, let's see what you do with it. It wasn't,
Yeah.
what it is today.
Yeah.
That's for sure. That, a lot of people would be like, that is crazy. Don't do that. But it was the right decision. It was ultimately the right decision. So which one is going to give you the best in terms of happiness and support and that kind of thing.
I love that. Tell me a little bit more about your business and what you do.
Yeah, well, my business is focused on executives and entrepreneurs. So if you have a goal, you want to grow your revenue, and you just don't have a map to get there, that is what I help you do. So I help you prioritize. Like I said, DM me. I'll give you the first bit for free.
Yeah, I love that.
And I help you prioritize. I help you understand what you need to focus on. And then I help you actually focus on it consistently in a way that's going to feel good for your brain. And then how to build out a team of people who are also aligned with you, supporting you, but also, not you, because,
Yeah,
we
not
have
you.
all
It
kinds of
shouldn't be
different
you
people.
all the time.
And building out metrics so that you can start to run a business, have it be successful, feel that sense of you know what is happening, you know that you're growing, you're happy to keep growing and keep building and make iterations, but you're not throwing everything out. And you're not blind. You know what's happening. You understand your metrics. Those pieces, I mean, on the one hand, they bring revenue 100%,
Right.
but also time with your family, time to do what you love,
Yeah.
time to take a moment, which for a lot of people who are in business, it feels like I got into this and now
Yeah.
it's torturing me.
Oh, I know, 100%. People want to have the freedom and flexibility, and they say, well, I want to work less, and this is why I'm going to have a
Yep,
business, so I don't have to work all the time.
exactly.
And they end up working
Exactly.
24/7. I get it.
Yes, and then they come and they go, okay, well, I think it's time for me to downscale, and there can be a bit of self-sabotage. You can break the thing you like because you're
Yeah,
so sick of it. And for
absolutely.
those people, I build systems that work for their brains that help them enjoy their time and still make money. Yeah, I love it.
I'm so grateful that, there are people like you who are supporting entrepreneurs. I am so happy that we connected. Skye Waterson. I want to encourage listeners, Skye has a wonderful podcast. I've checked out a couple of her episodes, and she also has some really great resource on the website, but I would encourage you to go in and DM her the word confidence, because again, this is the kind of work that is very specialized but needed for individuals that haven't found the right solution. And listen, Skye is navigating this herself, and she can be the guide that brings you along. Skye, tell us where they can find you, and your website and other
Yeah.
places they might be able to connect with you.
You can find me at unconventionalorganization.com. You can find me at Unconventional Organization on Instagram. And yep, DM me that word confidence. I'll give you the first step to the 2-minute focus formula. And then I will say, if you are interested, I run a coaching program that you can apply for. And it's not just me. It's a community of wonderful entrepreneurs and executives who have ADHD themselves as well. And there's something about connecting with other people who are like-minded, seeing them grow and seeing their struggles as well, that makes you feel super confident. It's actually one of the
Love
things
it.
people say they love from doing this program.
I could totally see that. Well, thank you again for taking the time to be here, my friends. We are so fortunate that we have someone like Skye come and share not only the work that she's doing, but her wisdom and knowledge in this topic. So check her out and give her all the social media love and currency so that other people that may be able to use this support system can find her. I know you're going to go share this episode with your friend. We all have someone that these concepts and thoughts and ideas really could benefit them. So let's share the wealth. Until next time, my friends, thank you, Skye. Don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.